Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Billy, thanks very much. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everyone out there in our viewing audience. We appreciate your support over the years. Welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on the Borders and Borders Hotline. I'll be with you until 11 o'clock taking your calls. This is your place to do it at 412-575-2600, on Twitter at KDPomp. Yes, Jason LaCanfora said in a tweet that Antonio Brown had requested to be traded. I find that a little strange, only because he hasn't talked to anyone recently. And if this report is based on something he shouted at practice last week, I don't think that's really a request. It was more of a moment that he had. So I'd be shocked if he actually went through with that. But that's what the report says, so you can take it for what it's worth. However, obviously, Antonio Brown remains a very big topic after what happened last week and him not playing on Sunday. So we'll talk about that with you. And tomorrow, Mike Tomlin will have a press conference in which he'll address all of this, including why use an injury, if it's not an injury, as a reason why he's not practicing. I think it would have been better if that's the case, just say, hey, we have an internal situation here, we'll take care of it. He's not practicing, may not play. If you do that ahead of time, I think you'll look better than if something like this comes out, which it has, then all of a sudden you're going to be asked about it. But the other thing is, Ben Roethlisberger today on his radio show, 93.7 The Fan, told Ron Cook that he thought this whole situation was overblown, that he has always liked Antonio, and yes, they have their situations, and I'm sure every quarterback, wide receiver in every NFL team has had it. But apparently Ben said he talked to Antonio the next day after a little dust up, and it wasn't anything big, according to Ben. He talked to Brown. Brown thought everything was cool, but he didn't show up for work that day, Friday or Saturday. And furthermore, he did not return any texts to his teammates, to his coaches, and reportedly even Art Rooney II. So that is something that you have to address, because this is petulant behavior that should not be tolerated regardless of who it is. However, for those of you who pay attention to this, double standards exist in sports all the time. If you can make plays, if you are productive, if you are a guy who is almost irreplaceable, and you can argue he is, you get certain rules that you can break and still be part of the team. It's not just here. I look at a lot of different situations. Odell Beckham Jr., remember when he was about to take on Green Bay at Lambeau Field, I think they had an off week, and they were down at Fontainebleau in Miami on a yacht. There was alcohol. There's all sorts of stuff. Not exactly the kind of image you want to send to your fan base, knowing that you're 6 days removed from a game. Now, you can argue he can do what he wants on his own time. He defended that, says nobody's business. Okay. New York Giants, despite all the things that he put them through, still gave him a multi-year, multi-mega dollar contract in this past offseason. Again, when you have productive players, they sort of get away with things. Now, those of you are going to call here and say, well, you can't tolerate that, discipline has to go on. Okay, I get that. And I would have probably handled this whole situation differently, because he's done this kind of stuff before with the Facebook Live stuff in the locker room, which goes against every rule that was in place, and yet he still did it with sideline behavior, whatever the case may be. You can bring all of that stuff up. But if the Steelers were to trade him, and I don't think a trade is possible just because of the cap hit we're talking about, $21.1 million, okay? That counts regardless if he's here or not. If they release him before June the 1st, that's what it would be. If it's after June the 1st, then it would be a little bit less. Bottom line is that's still something you don't want on your cap book, on your salary cap. And then you have to answer the question, what are you going to get for him in return? And if he leaves and continues to be productive and your wide receiving numbers generally go down, that same fan base who will call here tonight and complain about discipline will also say, they should never have traded him. He was productive. Who cares what he does? It's a double-edged sword. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Penn State Citrus Bowl today. I thought there was some weird clock management and a bad decision by James Franklin in that game. But it ended a career of Trace McSorley. What a great competitor that guy has been over his years. We'll talk about that. Penguins try to make it 7 in a row coming up tomorrow at Madison Square Garden. No shortage of topics. Call us right now. 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on the Borders and Borders Hotline.